Whether growing on allotments or in our own garden, space is so important, and it does occasionally mean we have to get a little bit inventive. Now, I have to admit that I am actually really lucky in the fact that I have got two greenhouses, a polytunnel down here at the allotment, but I also have a greenhouse at home. However, this particular greenhouse, which was gifted to me by another allotmenteer here, has basically had its day. It is a polycarb, and I think when it was first constructed, the polycarb wasn't put the right way up, and it has degraded massively. Now, we have had lots of wind, we've had lots of rain, we've obviously had lots of sunshine. This is probably about just 5 years old, so it's not even that old, but I've had enough of it because I keep on replacing the polycarb, trying to cobble it back together, and it's just not working for me. What I've also found as well is, having cleared out my mushroom shack earlier in the year, this place has actually become a secondary dumping ground, and that means it is useless. This space is not being used in any way, shape and form for what it should be. So I'm going to convert this into a bean frame. Now, I already have my squashes frame, I have my brassicas cages, I have my fruit cages. I don't need any more of those kinds of things, but actually I want to make this a little bit more ornamental, and it's sort of going along the lines of having like a teepee frame for sweet peas, but this is actually going to be for my French beans, and I'm hoping they're going to climb up and look absolutely brilliant as I finish this. Now, the first thing I need to do obviously is empty this, and then I'm going to be removing the polycarb itself. So another big job. I'm hoping it's going to look absolutely amazing. So now that it is empty, it is time to cut this polycarb off, or what is remaining of it. So wish me luck, because I'm not very historically good with these things, but it needs to come down, and that's what I'm going to do next. Now that the polycarb is actually off the greenhouse, it's looking very different, and I'm sort of trying to convince myself that this is the it looks worse before it gets better stage. Now, some of the polycarb just came off when I had to cut it through. The others, it literally disintegrated. However, I can see how you would be able to put some fresh polycarb in here, but to be honest, I'm done with it. I do not want any more of this plastic disintegrating into my growing area, because there's quite a bit to do. So what I need to do next is actually get all this wood chip up, which I had inside the greenhouse when it was a greenhouse. I'm going to leave the path in the middle, and then I have got some weed fabric membrane down here as well, which is quite suitable for inside a greenhouse where I wasn't growing in the ground. But that needs to come up, because that is actually where I'm going to be planting so that it can start to grow. So this bit to do, and then I'm going to get on with creating some elements where our beans can actually be growing up. So now that I have just about cleared the inside of what was a greenhouse, I'm now going to concentrate on the outside. I do still need to do the weeding. There's a little bit of couch grass inside, but actually there's some really quite good mycelium network in there as well. I did in fact have beans growing here before I put the greenhouse up, so I know this is a really good area for them. Now, of course, I could just stick with the uprights of the greenhouse itself for the beans to vine up, but I want this to be really packed full of beans and foliage and flowers, so I'm going to put some of these canes in as well as additional upright vertical supports. Now, because of the size of this, I've actually gone for, on my verticals at the side, I've gone for 5-foot poles, which I've had to mark off and then just slice. And if you're slicing canes like these, then actually loppers are really good. Try to avoid any knuckles in the cane, because they're really difficult to cut through. So I'm just going to pop this on the base of the greenhouse itself, on the frame, and then going to, with my twine, and I am using twine rather than plastic ties on this one, because they are vertical rather than horizontal. They don't need as much sort of strength and sturdiness, and these will do the job. I'm just going to tie a knot in this cane to start off with, and then trying to remember my best sort of Girl Guide knotting techniques, I'm just going to tie it into place. Now obviously this is going on the edge of the eaves or the slant on this greenhouse, and any horizontals I'm also going to tie those in. So that's the edges, but the top or the roof I have got some 4-foot poles, and they are going to overhang a little bit, but actually I'm fine with that. I think it's going to look quite cute. And then on the end eaves I have got some 6-foot poles, because obviously they are tall. I may need to cut those down to size, but again that's just a case of marking them off and then tying them up. So quite a few still to do, and hopefully all those beans that I sowed back in April are going to be ready to go out, and this is going to look really glorious, and I'm going to have a serious amount of French bean.